Hello, my name is Stan Smith. I'm an artist in the Dallas, Texas area. If any of these sculptures look interesting to you and you would like to see how I make them, then you have come to the right place. A typical process for me when I have an idea for a sculpture is to first sketch it out on a piece of paper. And then when I'm happy with it, I'll scale it, say like 1/8 equals 1 inch. And then I'll transfer that straight to the metal, or sometimes to a large piece of cardboard, and I'll use that as a template, and then bend my pieces of metal to match. I won't be bending any metal in this project, mainly cutting and welding. Here I'm using my poor man's compass, which in a pinch can double as a bootlace. The metal I'm using here is 16 gauge carbon steel, hot rolled. Cheaper but less quality than cold rolled, but perfect for this project. 16 gauge is a term for the thickness. The higher the number, the thinner the metal. 16 gauge is equal to about 1/16 of an inch. Now I'm getting my jigsaw ready by putting in a new blade. I use a 32 teeth per inch blade. This cuts 16 gauge carbon steel pretty good. You may not have seen that, but I put on my hearing protection, and I have on eye protection as well, and good gloves, a lot of sharp edges. Even though I don't have a TIG welder, I like wearing TIG gloves. Much better feel. Mine are made from kid skin. Not that kind of kid. Goat. It's goat skin. You may have already noticed my overloaded extension cord in the background. I can explain. For example, in this project I'm using a drill, two different kinds of grinders, and this jigsaw. And because I can only use one at a time, there is no way I can overload my circuit. Now I'm cutting out the eye by first drilling a small hole, then a bigger and bigger, till my saw blade will fit through. I do it this way because it's very difficult to drill a large hole in thin metal, because when it starts to break through, it could just bite in and the drill could come out of your hand, or the drill bit could come loose from the chuck. That may not make sense, so I guess what I'm saying is be careful. With the body, I start with just a simple oval, and the head is just a smaller oval with horns. My little sketch doesn't have much detail, so I often have to figure out stuff on the fly, which is all part of the fun. I know that happened real fast, but I just dipped that piece of metal in that red bucket, which is full of water, to cool it down. Which makes me think of an old story about a city slicker visiting a blacksmith shop. It went something like this. The blacksmith would pull his metal out of the hot furnace and bend it in the shape of a horseshoe, and quickly punch some holes in it, and then throw it in a pile on the floor. It's about this time the city slicker comes walking in and picks up one of the still hot shoes and immediately throws it back down. And the blacksmith says, "Pretty hot, huh?" And the city slicker says, "No, it just doesn't take me long to look at a horseshoe." Is it just me, or does that look more like a spaceship than a cow? Okay, now it's time to give her some ears. From the first time I sketched this cow, she had big ears sticking out the side, and horns. But at some point I said, wait, a female cow with horns? Well, it turns out I'm not crazy. Well, I guess that's still up to debate. But anyway, in some breeds of cattle, horns do not determine gender. But you probably already knew that. I have a feeling that people that watch my videos are pretty smart. And I'm just saying that. I'm going to center punch where I want to drill out the eyes and the nostrils. This really makes it easier to get the drill started. Don't laugh at my homemade anvil. I actually get a lot of use out of this thing. So I skipped over all the hole drilling, right to grinding the round holes into ovals using my little die grinder. I'm using a carbide grinding bit. Carbide refers to the type of metal the bit is made from. They will stay sharp for a long time. But a couple of drawbacks to this kind of bit is it actually makes little slivers out of the metal you're grinding, and they can break quite easily. She's really starting to look like a jumping cow now. I'm sawing in her cloved hooves, somewhat of a manicure, or pedicure I should say. Time for a tail. No self-respecting cow would go out in public without their tail. I used a piece of 5/16 round rod, doing a little bit of shaping to it with my sander. This is a fixture I made for hand bending small rod. If you come back to see more of my videos, you'll see me using this quite often. Turns out it works pretty good for bending cow tails as well. A little more shaping and a good trim. I think we're good to go. I'm going to come back later and put some more weld on the tail, because everybody knows your tail needs to be attached very good, especially if you're going to jump over the moon. Now I'm doing some shaping and blending. This will aid in her aerodynamics as well. Thanks for watching. If this video was interesting to you, you might like to see how I paint it. In fact, depending on when you see this, it may already be painted. If you'd like to see more of my stuff, hit the subscribe button.